No Future Without Today is a gun violence prevention organization established by survivors of the Oxford High School shooting. We believe that gun violence is a very nuanced issue. It's not black and white, and we require multifaceted, data-driven solutions to end this crisis. This issue is affecting us every single day in the state, and we can do so much more. This year is a little bit different, though. It's a presidential election year. And while I don't want to get political, we need leaders in elected offices who are willing to look at and understand all sides of this issue, who understand the devastation gun violence has had on communities like Oxford, who show up for us. These are the board members of No Future Without Today. They made sure this event could happen today, so please give them another round of applause. All right, so we are honored to march with you here all today at our third annual March with Oxford. Thank you so much for coming out in this hot and humid weather, like I said. I hope everyone has had a chance to visit some of the amazing tablers and organizations that are around the park today. We have CWR Community Help Center. We have Be Smart for Kids. We have End Gun Violence Michigan. We have voter registration from the Oakland County Clerk's Office. We have some NFWT action items as well. So thank you so much. It means a lot for us, like I said, for you to be here today. I want to remind everyone of the goals of this march. This march has always had a few goals. One is to honor those we have lost to gun violence, to uplift the voices of those impacted, to celebrate our legislative accomplishments from last year: safe storage, extreme risk protection orders, truly universal background checks, and domestic abuse protection. We couldn't have done it without advocates like you here today. And then we're also here today calling for more preventative, proactive measures that keep kids safe. We do this because of Hannah, Tate, Justin, and Madison. We will forever honor them and the victims of gun violence in our state. We do this for them so that in the future, kids don't have to barricade themselves in a room like myself and my classmates did, so that future kids don't have to arm themselves with makeshift weapons like tape dispensers, scissors, or a hockey stick, so that they don't have to experience the aftermath of gun violence that we know all too well in this town. I would never wish that on anyone. So now I would like to hand it over to Vice President Madeline Johnson.
Everybody has their own reason for being here today, like Dylan mentioned, but I want to talk a little bit about mine. I started my advocacy work with No Future Without Today because I was in the high school on November 30th, 2021. Some of you may know this already, but that day felt like a perfectly normal day for me. I had spent most of it with my best friend, Maddie. We had just finished our AP statistics class together, and I was walking to her next class when it all happened. I realized I was going to be late to my own class, so I turned around and went the opposite way. I'll never forget the smile on her face as she waved goodbye to me, and she rounded the corner of the 200 hallway. That was the last time I ever saw her. Madison, as you all know her, is my reason, because we were supposed to share a dorm together at Michigan State University, and we never got to. Because we were supposed to go prom dress shopping together, and I was supposed to cheer for her as she walked the stage to get her diploma. We were supposed to go on a trip together over the summer, but none of this ever happened. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't miss her and that I don't think about all the things that we could have done. This brings me to the second reason why I fight, all of you. Because no one deserves to have their life taken away from them so violently, and no one deserves to watch their loved one walk away from them, not knowing that they will never see them again. No one deserves the lifetime of grief, trauma, guilt, and the hundreds of other problems that come along with being impacted by gun violence. I know many of you here today have lost someone to gun violence, and a lot of you here maybe haven't. And though I can't bring back those we have lost, even though I wish I could, what I can do is say no more. We have accomplished some wonderful legislative change here in Michigan within the past 2 years, and No Future Without Today will always fight for common sense gun legislation, both in state and federally. but we will also be incorporating mental health reform into our advocacy in the coming months. Today, the goal of this event, thank you. Today, the goal of this event is to keep pressure on our legislature to remind them that the world may forget about November 30th, 2021, but we have to live with it for the rest of our lives, and we aren't going to stop talking about it. Today, we march to remind our legislators that mass shootings should not be normal, that we deserve to go into public places and feel safe. Schools, movie theaters, malls, clubs, churches, restaurants, and even grocery stores are no longer safe in this country, and we deserve better, and all of our loved ones deserve better too. And finally, we march today to remember and honor Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison. I'm going to hand it back over to Dylan to introduce our first speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Maddie. I want to bring up our first speaker. We have Reid. Mia is a licensed clinical mental health counselor and the founder of Change Happens Today, a counseling private practice located in Michigan that primarily offers informed trauma and grief care to those struggling with traumatic experiences. She is also the founder and CEO of the Charles W. Reid CWR Community Help Center, a nonprofit in memory of her son, Chuck. As a gun violence survivor herself, Mia focuses on helping families impacted by both gun violence and poverty through advocacy, providing resources, inspiring hope. We are so happy to have her with us today.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for being here. So I have one request for you. Whenever you hear me say, "You already know," I want you to yell as loud as possible, "Yes, we do." Y'all got that? Let's do a little practice. Y'all already know.
Yes, we do.
All right. So when I talked to the students and I thought about what should I talk about today? Because everybody here already know the message.
Yes, we do.
Everybody here showed up for a reason. So you already know.
Yes, we do.
So my message is for the legislators, because somebody already said this is an election year. And if you want my vote, you're gonna have to work really hard to keep us safe. And y'all already know that.
Yes, we do.
To the legislators, I know when you hear the stories about gun violence, mass shootings, community gun violence, you think to yourselves, that's sad. You think to yourselves, well, you didn't get shot. You think to yourselves, give it time. Here's what I want to let you know. It's been over a decade, well over a decade, since my firstborn and only son was taken by gun violence. And I can tell you, if somebody slams a car door too loud, I jump. But you already know this.
Yes, we do.
If somebody pops a firecracker, I jump. But you already know this.
Yes, we do.
I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I didn't want to get out of bed. I felt worthless. But you already know this.
Yes, we do.
The part that they don't know is we are different now. We are not the same. But legislators, I am not broken. And you guys already know that.
Yes, we do.
But legislators, I will not stop. But you guys already know that.
Yes, we
Legislators, we demand action. Here we go. We demand that you keep everybody safe, starting from elementary school. You already know that.
Yes, we do.
Middle schools, you already know that.
Yes, we do.
High schools, you already know that.
Yes, we do.
Colleges, you already know that.
Yes, we do.
In the community, in the bank, in apartments, in homes, jogging, walking, and as recently at a splash pad. But you already know that.
Yes, we do.
We demand the ban on bus stops are reinstated. We demand that all military weapons and assault weapons are banned again. If it worked before, it can work again, and you already know that.
Yes, we do.
The most vulnerable communities need the most protection. They are the most overlooked. Legislators, Blacks are disproportionately impacted by gun violence. But you already know that.
Yes, we do.
So I will end with a quote that I love from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The time is always right to do right." And most of you already know that quote.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? Thanks for taking time out of your day and coming out here. We appreciate it. First of all, want to give some props to the NFWT team. They came together after an obviously avoidable tragedy, and they drove change. And that takes guts, and that's not easy. So, very strong work. So after the shooting, we started getting all kinds of emails and text messages about Tater. I call him Tater, and about how he was constantly mentoring and being an awesome friend, an awesome peer. So we decided to start a peer mentoring program. So I want to talk a little bit about 42 Strong. 42 Strong is a peer mentoring program that's based on the consistency, caring, and humble confidence Tate Myre displayed during his life. Tate was the epitome of a we person. He never spoke in I language. He was the first to give credit to everyone else and the last to take glory for himself. Not only that, he was vicariously inclusive to everyone and always took the time to involve and mentor those younger than him. It is 42 Strong's mission to create a better future by helping students develop a greater sense of purpose, community, and resistance. We want to carry on and build upon the groundwork that Tate already started. We are accomplishing this through peer mentoring. We have our mentees that are in grades 6 through 9, and mentors are grades 10 through 12. Matches are based on social science. We just added the social science part of it this year. It's kind of like a match.com, but for mentoring. So we're doing social science, common interest, same sex, and optimally a 2 to 3 year grade gap. Our mentors are required to go through extensive training to prepare them. And we have monthly events ranging from speakers to field days and team building events. All of this to support the kids, build friendships, and create a community. 42 Strong has received amazing support from the community. By the numbers, we've had over 1,000 total participants, mentors and mentees. We've had 67 adult team leaders. The team leaders are volunteer adults in our community that have a group of kids that they watch over that team of mentor and mentees. So we've had 67 of those folks step up and give their selfless time. And we got a 7-person working board that does it for free. They want to drive change in this world, and that's pretty awesome. So our goal is to provide the best program that we can possibly for the kids here in Oxford. And we're hoping that this idea is going to spread to surrounding communities, and we're going to do our best to help others get set up in those communities and have that opportunity for the kids. So I want to thank everybody that's helped us get to where we are. We wouldn't be here without your support. So I want to get into our advocacy positions here. So Maddie and I, Maddie had emailed us, and we started chatting with Maddie, and No Future Without Today wanted to kind of turn their focus to mental health. So before I get into the advocacy positions, I'm going to give you guys some stats, because the stats are saying that we're in a mental health crisis. This is a serious issue that needs to be addressed. According to 2021 U.S. Surgeon General's advisory, the proportion of high school students reporting persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness increased by 40% from 2009 to 2019. Students seriously considering attempting suicide increased by 36%, while students creating a suicide plan increased by 44%. As of 2019, nearly 37% of high school students reported having persistent feelings of loneliness, a 97% increase from 2012. While only a small percentage of adolescents who experience loneliness or depression ever act violently, 87% of youth who do commit an act of violence were in a noticeable state of crisis before the event transpired, and 80% exhibited signs of suicidality. So our advocacy positions, when we talk about it, we're constantly talking about, are we looking far enough upstream? We're being way too reactive here. What can we do to look further upstream to help kids before they get in crisis and want to put that gun in their hand? That's what we're trying to focus on. So I want to give a couple more quick stats here. I forgot to pile these on here. So after the shooting in Oakland County, school threats and related prosecutions skyrocketed. Prosecutor Karen McDonald's office charged only one threats case in 2021 before the shooting. Since then, her office has charged more than 40 cases. In Macomb County, threat cases have gone up at an alarming rate to almost 50 cases where criminal charges were filed in 2022, up from 25 cases in 2021. That's a 100% jump. That's crazy. Kids aren't feeling good about themselves. So I want to talk about our advocacy positions. We got 3 of them. Funding for peer mentoring programs, 1 of them. 2, implementation of well-being surveys in the schools. And number 3 is school safety and support software. So I want to talk about this one for a second. So the schools are already collecting all this data, but they're doing nothing with it. Attendance, grades, participation in sports, participation in other activities, you name it. The SABRE assessment, which is a mental health evaluation. So they're collecting all this data, and they're not using it. So what we're saying is collect all this data, put it in a design software system, and by the way, put that well-being survey in there as well, and put it all in one spot, and have this software program designed to be able to monitor the well-being of the student body in a techie way. Then you can come back, when you see those scores dropping, you can come back and make your interventions personal. Right now, our government's answer is to hire more counselors. There's no counselors to hire. Like they need to get more efficient and better at what they do, which is monitoring the kids' well-being, because we're in a mental health crisis. The data shows it. The data shows it. We're in a mental health crisis. Do your job better. Get more efficient. So those are and so we're happy to have Maddie and her team's horsepower here to join us on the advocacy front for those three things we're advocating for. So the last thing I want to talk about is a sensitive issue. It's not sensitive to me, but it might be sensitive to some. I don't talk about it a lot publicly, but I'm going to talk about it today. So, as many as you know, or some of you may not know, that we have not got answers for November 30th. We have not had an answer on anything, and that's unacceptable. There was an investigation done by Guidepost, but that investigation, although it was mandated by our board, it was narrow in its scope. They were only allowed to look at the shooting, and it didn't require the staff to cooperate, and it didn't require any of the state agencies to cooperate. So this investigation, although it exposed some huge failures, it's not being recognized by our state government. So we need to do better than our government needs to do better than this. So we want a full investigation. Okay? And the reason why a full investigation hasn't been done by our state is because of the local control laws here in Michigan. And our board is being given guidance by an insurance company that is prioritizing money over the safety of kids. And that's unacceptable. So I handed out our call to action. If you guys didn't get one, come find me, okay? And what we're asking from our community is to email our Oxford School Board. And what I put in there was some verbiage. And we need basically a bipartisan commission put together. And let's get to the bottom of what happened. Let's learn what we did good and what we did bad so that we can drive change. Like, how can we drive change if we don't know the story? So I've got the Oxford School Board emails on here, and I've also got the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader. So we'd like for you guys to email them as well. Our government needs to feel the pressure. Because let me tell you something. We've been fighting really hard at the state level, and nobody wants to recognize this shooting. And nobody's said this to me, but the message is this. We know we didn't do our jobs. We know we failed, but there's not a damn thing you can do about it. That doesn't sit well with me, because that tells me that they're living in a different world than we are. Because I'm accountable every day what I do. So we need to change that. That shouldn't sit well with anybody here, because that's not how this world works. So at the end of the day, we want a full investigation that has full subpoena power, and everybody has to talk, and then we can drive the change, because then we're going to get the story. Can't drive the change without knowing what went wrong. Two more things. One more thing about student voices, actually. So the students, their voices haven't been heard here. So this is where Maddie is going to really help with us on this one. And So we're going to have two ways for the kids, for the students to have their voices heard. One is through the state advocacy, which the NFW team is joining us, so we can have through that channel at the state level. And then I got to talk to Maddie a little bit about this. We just talked about this last night, but at the local level, students need to have their voices heard. So we're going to put together a group here at the local level for the students to be heard. They need to be heard. Okay? So, and then lastly, on a personal level, our family wishes that no other family will ever have to go through this. We must learn from this. Our government needs to investigate the shooting. And no family needs to feel the pain that we're feeling, because it's hell. So please help us drive this change, because I want my boys, Trent and Ty, when they have their kids, I want their kids to be safe. All you grandma and grandpas out here, you want all your grandkids to be safe, right? All you students that are here, when you have kids, you want your kids to be safe. Like, we need to learn from this, and we need to drive change from this, because this is unacceptable. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. It is so beautiful outside today. It's a great day. My name is Manuel. I am a recent psychology graduate from Michigan State University. Today I stand before you to honor the legacy of Brian, Ariel, and Alexandria, students at my university, and Tate, Hannah, Justin, and Madison. Their lives were tragically cut short, but their spirits remain with us, inspiring us to strive for a better world. Usually my speeches aim to inspire action and drive change, but today I feel compelled to take a different approach. Today I'll be honest and say that I'm tired, something that I do not admit often in this work. But just because I'm tired doesn't mean I'm not hopeful. Instead, I want to share a message of joy, hope, and compassion with you. We've heard and will continue to hear many incredible speakers today, each one of us reminding us of the preciousness of life and the urgency of our cause. In the midst of these powerful messages, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the weight of our collective grief and the challenges we face. Yet within this, we often overlook the small miracles that happen every day, the moments that remind us of the beauty and potential of life. Today, I want to offer some good news. I just got the news on my way here that my sister gave birth. And as I'm so excited to be an auntie, I'm here to fight for my nephew's future. His name is Josiah, by the way. Reflecting on my nephew's arrival, I think about the legacy and message I want to convey to him. In the midst of our sorrow and struggles, new life begins a fresh perspective and a renewed sense of hope. It reminds us not to take life for granted, to cherish every moment, and to even find joy when it feels dark. After tragedy strikes, we often find ourselves in seas of emotions. Personally, I'll come forward and say that I have lost myself for a while. I had to rediscover who I was and develop new coping mechanisms just to get out of bed every day. It's not easy, but I feel a sense of hope and gratitude and just an abundance of joy to be here with you today. As my family welcomes this new life, I am reminded of the importance of intention, positivity, and care. No matter how old we get, we are still someone's child. We should treat ourselves with the same gentleness and compassion we would with a newborn baby. In many ways, our journey through life is like tending a garden. After a storm, the garden may seem devastated. With plants uprooted and flowers trampled, it can be overwhelming to think about rebuilding it. But with patience, care, and consistent effort, new growth will emerge. The garden begins to flourish again, and sometimes even more beautifully than it began. Similarly, after enduring life's storms, we too can find renewal and hope by nurturing ourselves and each other. I want to give you 3 key reminders, and I hope that they resonate with you. First, remember to love yourself. In this work, it's easy to neglect our own needs and our well-being. Loving yourself is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. It's about recognizing your worth and taking time for self-care. Think of it like this. Imagine a garden where the gardener never tends to the soil and never plants, I'm losing my words now, and never waters the plants. That garden would soon become overwhelmed, in the same way that neglecting yourself will only lead to burnout and despair. So take time to rest and to nourish your body and your soul and to treat yourself with kindness and respect. The second reminder is when you feel overwhelmed, it is okay to step back. We often struggle to do this, but I hope you know that you're not alone. Today, I hope you find your place within this loving community. Taking a step back doesn't always mean that you're giving up. It means that you're giving yourself the space to breathe, the space to regain your strength and to find clarity. By stepping back, you allow yourself to come back stronger, more focused, and more resilient. Third is an affirmation that I want to share with you all. So please repeat after me. I am deserving of love, joy, and kindness. Embrace this truth and let it guide you. Often we feel unworthy of these blessings, especially in the face of adversity. But just as every plant in the garden deserves sunlight and water, you too deserve the warmth of love and the nourishment of joy. Remind yourself daily that you are worthy. Say it with me, I am worthy. I need y'all to be louder, I am worthy. And like Mia said, you already know. Yes, we do. That's right. Let this belief anchor you and propel you forward. I share this with you because I want you to know that you are not alone when you feel overwhelmed, confused, and tired. I think at these speeches, we often lose sight of the emotions that originally moved us to come here in the first place. We always focus on pushing others to feel a certain way, to inspire them to act. But I'm sharing this to let you know that you are never alone. These feelings of grief, confusion, and a sense of helplessness sometimes are shared by so many of us. And reflecting on these 3 reminders, loving yourself, knowing when to take a step back, and affirming your worth, I hope you find a renewed sense of purpose and strength. Each of us has a role to play in this garden of humanity. By nurturing ourselves, we can nurture each other, fostering a community where we hope we will make change, but fostering a community where hope and compassion will thrive. Let us hold on to these powerful reminders, especially when emotions run high. In the same way that a garden flourishes with the collective effort of sun, water, and care, we too can thrive when we come together with understanding. So thank you for being here and for listening and for continuing to honor the legacy of those we have lost. May we all find the strength in each other and move forward with hearts full of hope. And before I go, I will share something that I always say. Turn your pain into passion. And that passion, I want you to turn it into power. But with that power, turn it into a position of love, a position of hope, and a position of strength. Thank you.
Jonathan is a pistol and gun safety instructor in Michigan for over 25 years. John is now an engagement advisor with Giffords and has experienced multiple incidents of gun violence. He is a part of the End Gun Violence Michigan Coalition, and I'm really proud to call him a friend.
My speech changed 3 speakers ago. Manuel may be one of my favorite people on the planet. And she said to us a second ago, she started this work when she was 20, and now she's 22. She was at Michigan State. We are privileged and lucky to hear Manuel here today. And it shouldn't be about privilege, and it shouldn't be about luck. And we have to make change. So I could lecture you on the 4 phenomenal laws we passed last year. I was going to, but I'm not going to. But what I am going to tell you is that it doesn't stop at passing a law. Those laws have to be implemented. They have to be paid for. And your legislature is making those decisions as recently as this week about how much money they're actually going to put in to those phenomenal laws we passed. So if you haven't been on your phone to your legislature, and by the way, they measure phone calls, not letters, not emails. They measure phone calls. Get on your phone and make their office's phones ring and tell them to implement these laws, pony up with the cash they promised, and get them implemented. Because if we don't have them implemented and we don't have the solutions fixed, it's just paper. It's just paper. And paper doesn't stop bullets. So Michigan changed the laws, and I'm proud of us. I really am. But now we have to talk about teaching people about these laws. I'm going to tell you a story. And this just happened to me Thursday morning when my speech changed again. One of my best friends in the world is a school administrator in another state. And she was out with her friends after work at a cigar bar, having a very expensive whiskey with it, when the police came to the bar because someone in that bar's car had been broken into. Well, they broke into the car, but not for the car. They broke into the car and stole 2 guns that obviously must have been visible and not secure, because they didn't take anything else. This guy came back to the table and said, "It's just 2 of my guns. I have plenty more." He didn't understand that his 2 guns probably just became part of the murder cycle in a major American city. He didn't secure 2 loaded weapons, wasn't wearing them, and now they will most likely be the authors of another American tragedy. This is the lack of education that we're dealing with, and we need to do something about it. Dealing with that means we must educate. We need Michiganders to know about safe storage, and we must pass House Bills 5450 and 5451 to make sure that the majority of Michiganders get reminders through the public education system, and make sure that safe storage makes as much sense as locking your front door. If we lock up our homes to protect our things, isn't it common sense that we lock up our guns to protect our children from accidental death? And from people who would steal those guns and use them with desperate or evil intent. Last Saturday, we had a huge march in Detroit for Silence the Violence. Well, we came home for dinner. I went to a high school graduation party where another lobbyist walked up to me and said, "I don't know how to tell you this." I'm getting really used to hearing, "I don't know how to tell you this." And they told me about Detroit, and they told me about Lathrop Village, and they told me about Rochester Hills. And I usually don't let this get to me, but a tear ran down my face. And I had to say that I was horribly appalled, but not shocked. I wasn't shocked at all. And we have to do something about that. We have to go back to being shocked. We have to go back to being angry. We cannot sit by and watch our children die and not be appalled. Now, I'm a firearms instructor, and I want to say something to you from the heart. It is very clear that people owning guns isn't stopping people from shooting people. One thing that we see is clear is that the threat of an armed civilian didn't stop them. The parents at that water park could have been armed. The people at that block party could have been armed. The people at that restaurant could have been armed. And I will tell you that deterrent is a myth. Now, yes, you can use your sidearm to save your life. I'm going to tell you that mine saved mine. And I'm really glad to be here having this conversation with you. But if you think that an armed populace is a deterrent to violence, you're wrong. There was one rare case that everybody brings up, which was the Indianapolis mall shooting, where a trained hunter and marksman ended an attack. I want to point out to you, you're right, he ended the attack, but he did not stop it. Indiana is a permitless carry free gun state. He walked into that mall knowing that almost every other person in that mall might have been armed. It didn't stop him. And the shooter who did stop him, yeah, they limited the casualties, but they didn't stop the attack. People still died. I'd like you to think about that. So now everyone's been picking on legislators today. My turn. Our legislature did act last year, and we should be proud of what they did. But we have some new problems. Again, firearms instructor. No responsible gun owner needs to be able to shoot 800 rounds a minute. While the Supreme Court ruled that the ATF exceeded their authority, they did not rule that states could not pass laws banning bump stocks. The state of Illinois has banned bump stocks. We need to mirror that law. We need to find out how they wrote it, and we need to pass it in the state of Michigan, and we need to do it this year. We also need to be able to participate in government, I don't care what party you're in, without the threat of armed violence at your polling place. We need to be able to go lobby in Lansing and not worry about getting shot in a hallway. I find it incredibly ironic that when I go to testify in the Capitol building on the 4th floor, I can't take a protest sign like any of these with me, but I can sling an AR-15. For real. There's something wrong with that, and it has to change. So guys, this isn't freedom. Freedom isn't the right to gun people down in the street because you feel wrong that day. Freedom is being able to go to a synagogue or a church or a mosque or a splash pad or a party or just sit on your front porch without an armed escort. That's freedom. So a while back, I was attending a good friend of mine's ordainment in the Episcopalian Church, and it was right after another mass shooting. And we were all sitting, we were packed into that church in Ypsilanti. I mean, shoulder to shoulder and elbow to elbow. And I was sitting in a row of people I love. And one of these guys is what I call the biggest gentle giant in the whole world. Ex-hockey player, 6'5", 256. I don't want to get tackled by this man. And he said, I'm ready to tackle anyone who comes in that door. And I'm pretty sure John's got my back. I got the chills when he said that. I'll tell you why. First of all, I wasn't going to break the law and carry a gun in a church full of 250 people. Second of all, my friend shouldn't need an armed escort to watch our friend find his calling. A child shouldn't be terrified to leave their house. Bulletproof backpacks should not have to exist. We shouldn't have to ask ourselves every day, is this the day? And have that in the front of our minds, not the back of it. We shouldn't have to send our children to school in body armor and Kevlar clothing protected by armed guards. This is obscene. So elections matter, and many people will tell you what you want to hear. So make sure their actions and votes have been for gun safety. Don't just sit there and take their word for it. Check their record. Keeping our children and your children safe should be their number one priority, and if it isn't, they shouldn't be there. So when we head to the polls in November, firearm safety must be our number one issue. And any candidate saying, just get over it, doesn't deserve your vote. Thank you.
Hey guys, how y'all feeling today? I can't hear y'all. How y'all feeling today? I can't hear y'all. I just wanted to make it personal real quick. If some of y'all may not know me, my name's Tania Reese. I'm not from Oxford, Michigan. I'm from Battle Creek, Michigan. And I'm here to speak for my cousin Joseph Bowser, who was killed March 30th, 2018. And I'm here to also speak for my cousin Mateo Ramon. He died gun by suicide last year in June 1st. So I just wanted to say that. But thank you everyone for coming out today. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to the volunteers. Thank you, No Future Without Today. And yes. So we are going to take the next hour to honor those who we've lost with action. We will be marching to Oxford High School to conclude the march with a moment of silence for Hannah, Tate, Justin, and Madison, and those who we've all lost to gun violence. We cannot continue to stay silent so that they can stay comfortable, you know? Make sure that you hold your signs up and remember your voice matters just as much. Because today, I feel like we can make history today, you know?
I don't know yet.
Gun violence has got to go.
No more silence. And gun violence. No more silence.
End gun violence. End gun violence.
No more confusion.
End gun violence. End gun violence. End gun violence. End gun violence. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.